Hello, dear friends. I have always expressed skepticism about any cryptocurrency that is not backed by active assets and precious metals, but current affairs rule and Bitcoin is everywhere, floating around even in the financial news soup. Opinion piece. The Bitcoin revolution. Investors go crazy. It is shaking up the financial system. It goes up and down like a roller coaster. It is a bubble about to burst. The stock market had a wild week. The stock market closed April with its largest monthly gain. Yields hit 2-week highs. Stocks have risen to record highs this year. Treasury bonds hit 2-week highs. European Union plans to tax the entire digital economy at 9.5%. Cryptos threaten the role of all central banks. Where is the return to normalcy we were promised? Bitcoin up 600 in 12 months, Dogecoin up 8,000 in the same time. The price of palladium surpasses the record of $3,000 an ounce. The price of copper reaches an all-time high of $10,000. This is due to the political crisis in Chile, which is the world's largest producer. Gold and silver have been left behind by enthusiasm of cryptocurrencies. Gold falls for the week but posts first monthly gain for the year. Pentagon chief warns next big war would be very different. China and Russia have weapons capable of destroying US satellites. Pentagon's next UFO report could reveal intelligence failure. Let's start. From blockchain to cryptocurrency mining, electricity vehicles, solar power and more, tracking hot stocks in the so-called new economy can seem like a daunting task, and even more for a classical journalist who outgrown all these modernities, especially when the stock market is in permanent volatility and instability. Not for the faint of heart. Gold and silver have been left behind, confused by the enthusiasm for cryptocurrencies. What is important is not the form of the money, but the fact that its owners are always the same. Despite all the pandemic gloom, US stocks have risen to record highs this year, baffling all logical thinking. Stocks hit record highs as investors considered a batch of stronger than expected earnings results for major companies. Stocks gave back some of their recent gains on Friday, although the market still closed April with its biggest monthly gain so far this year. Still, stocks SCHN, STLD and Nucor lead the fastest growing stocks today and expect gains of 87% to 1037% in 2021. Treasury yields hit 2 weeks high on Thursday and growth accelerated in the first quarter. European Union plans to tax digital economy. The European Union is moving ahead with plans for a new digital tax rate for multinational companies, with proposals to be debated soon in the European Parliament. Foster Swiss reports. MEPs are calling for a new and fairer allocation for tax rights for highly digitized multinational and further review of the traditional concept of permanent establishment, as it doesn't cover the digitized economy. On average, digital companies face an effective tax rate of only 9.5% compared to 23.2% for traditional business models across the European Union. Roller coaster. A person whose mood swings wildly like a roller coaster or like a bipolar character is said to be subject to a potential trouble source, or PTS. PTS is a person who is in some way related to another suppressive person who causes him adverse effects. So is Bitcoin, swinging wildly like a roller coaster. It is called a potential source of difficulties because it can be the source of many difficulties for itself and others. In my opinion, something similar could be applied to the functioning of the economy, and in this case to the brutal oscillations that the Bitcoin price is undergoing like a roller coaster. But it is not possible to identify the source of its instability. A bubble or a bunker? A bubble about to burst? The largest cryptocurrency by volume is worth 600% more today than a year ago, rising from $7,000 per Bitcoin to $54,000 this week, making it one of the best performing financial assets for 2020. Although hardened cryptocurrency skeptics may not consider investing money in Bitcoin, and many skeptics are crumbling, according to the Financial Times. I personally consider Ethereum more reliable than Bitcoin, following the advice of analysts at investment bank JP Morgan, who believe Ethereum may end up outperforming Bitcoin thanks to its characteristics in liquidity, demand, and its lower dependence on derivatives markets. In addition, Bitcoin's popularity among those who use it to facilitate illegal and criminal activity initially earned it a somewhat unsavory reputation. At times, the cold reception seemed to imply that even the simple desire for privacy of financial transaction itself was a criminal act. But it is true that there have been a lot of criminal acts with cryptocurrencies. But the bubble of it all is a grand illusion. Money is becoming more plentiful, credit is more available, asset prices are not really rising. It is the value of money that is being systematically undermined. Rises. Bitcoin rose Friday to a 2-week high after breaking a technical barrier. Bitcoin climbed to its highest levels since mid-April after clearing a closely watched technical hurdle. The digital token rose above its average price over the past 50 days, a measure of its short-term momentum. For chart watchers, that would have been an important level. Such a move generally portends further gains. Many analysts will now be looking to see if it can sustainably hold above it. Earlier, Bitcoin was at a technical inflection point amid a recent sell-off. Stock market skepticism. Financial Times writer Pan Kwan-yuk argues that the markets are too immature for a Bitcoin exchange-traded fund. Dozens of proposals have been floated, starting with the Winklevoss twins failed offering 8 years ago, which have been summarily rejected. Typically, the Securities and Exchange Commission cites cites limited trading activity and the potential risk of market manipulation as a reason for rejecting these proposals. Cryptocurrency is threatening the role of central banks. The rise of stable currencies such as cryptocurrencies is a bigger threat than Bitcoin to established government-backed currency. Some of the largest economies are pushing back, including China and the Fed. European debt pioneer touch revolution coming from blockchain. For the European Union's investment arm, blockchain could prove to be a game changer, sparking a transformation of debt market processes which echoes of the revolution started by the World Wide Web. In quotes, "The technology is revolutionary," said Richard Teichmeister, Director of Finance at the European Investment Bank. In quotes again, "This is a bit like the development of the internet and someone just sent the first email." Profit fisherman Revolut has set its sights on becoming one of the banking giants with the help of Bitcoin. Earlier this year, the London-based fintech, which is gearing up for a fundraising that will reportedly value it at between $10 billion and $15 billion, applied for a full banking license in the UK. Salaries in Bitcoin. Sean Culkin of the Kansas City Chiefs is converting his entire base salary into Bitcoin. It's another example of the explosive enthusiasm for the cryptocurrency, which has experienced a stratospheric rally this year. Quotations. Tether success. Tether, the stable cryptocurrency backed one for one by the fiat currencies, surpassed 50 billion in circulation, a sum that is more than the insured deposits in all but 44 of the thousands of US banks. Is Dogecoin the perfect currency for 2021? If I wanted to design a perfect currency for the first that our financial system has become, I couldn't do better than Dogecoin. It was created as a joke with no real value, with the image of a dog barking at the moon, but investors are feverishly devouring it as if it were the greatest investment any of us have ever seen. Many people talked about the Bitcoin bubble, but Bitcoin is only up 600% in the last 12 months, while Dogecoin is up approximately 18,000% over the past year. Gold falls for the week, but scores first monthly gain of the year. Gold futures drop a bit on Friday to post a decline for the week, but prices still scored their first monthly gain of the year. Palladium surpasses record $3,000 amid rising demand for electric vehicles and supply chain pressure. Palladium futures rose Friday to more than $3,000 an ounce for the first time, as the market worries about the shortages of the precious metal used mainly by automakers in exhaust systems and green technologies such as hydrogen power. Copper hits all-time high. Copper surpassed $10,000 a metric ton for the first time since 2011, nearing the all-time high set that year, as recovering economies stoke demand and mines struggle to keep up. Political crisis in Chile. Sadly, some of the increase in copper prices can be attributed to increased demand for semiconductors, cell phone towers, and other electronic devices. But at least part of the most recent price increase is due to the supply disruption caused by the political crisis in Chile, which is the largest copper producer. Money supply inflation leads to asset price inflation, commodity price inflation, and consumer price inflation, and ultimately to complete societal collapse. Fall down. Europe presents its economic takeoff. The three largest economies of the European Union, Germany, Italy, and France, have officially presented their recovery plans. Spain presents its recovery plan in Brussels. Spain formally presented this Friday to the European Commission its Recovery, Transformation and Resilience Plan with details of the reforms and investments amounting to 70 billion euros, which it plans to implement between 2021 and 2023 with aid of the European Recovery Fund. Arrests in Paris as thousands join May Day protests in France. Hooded protesters dressed in black clashed with police in Paris on Saturday as thousands joined traditionally May Day protests across France to demand social and economic justice and voice their opposition to government plans to change unemployment benefits. Police made 34 arrests in the capital, where trash garbage cans were set on fire and the windows of a bank branch were smashed, momentarily delaying the march. Police break up Brussels anti-blockade party. Police fire water cannons and tear gas in a Brussels park Saturday to break up an anti-blockade party of several hundred people designed to defy the rules of social distancing. It put a damper on the party. European accuses Apple of abuse of dominant position in online music services. The European Commission has opened a new front against Apple. It has accused the company of abusing its dominant position to distort competition in the music streaming sector. Christian pastor arrested in UK for saying marriage is between a man and a woman. A Christian pastor in the UK was arrested by police after a member of the public reported him for the allegedly homophobic comment of saying that a marriage is between a man and a woman only. Argentine power companies raise prices. Argentina's main power distribution firms, Edenor and Edesur, will raise electricity prices by 9% in and around the city of Buenos Aires, the national regulator said Saturday. It's the first increase since 2019 rate freeze to help control inflation. United States. Pentagon chief wants net big war will be very different. Washington would have to prepare for a possible future conflict that, if it breaks out, will look nothing like the old wars. Pentagon chief Lloyd Austin warned Friday, stressing the need for U.S. defense to take on a new vision. U.S. Space Force commander says China and Russia have weapons capable of destroying U.S. satellites. General John Raymond, commander of the newly created U.S. Space Force, believes that space has already become a combat area like the sea, air, or land, and that in fact Russia and China already have weapons capable of destroying U.S. satellites. NASA suspends SpaceX $1 million lunar lander contract after rivals protest. Elon Musk's joy at SpaceX winning the NASA contract to develop the Artemis program's lunar lander has been short-lived as legal challenges from rivals Dynetics and Blue Origins have prompted the space agency to suspend work on the project. Pentagon's upcoming UFO report could reveal potential catastrophic intelligence failure, warned the Pentagon and relevant agencies. UFO report to be released next June could shed light on a potential catastrophic intelligence failure, former British defense official Nick Pope warned on Fox News Tucker Carlson Tonight program. And that's all for today. Have a happy weekend.